Good evening to one and all present here. On behalf of the management and staff of Patrician College of Arts and Science, Chennai, I welcome you all to the international webinar, Emerging Technologies in Computer Application, organized by the Department of Computer Application, Shift 2. Technology is best when it brings people together. Ma'am, Pushpa
Yes, sir.
ma'am. Yes, sir. Please record that programs. Yeah. Once again, a hearty welcome to all of you for this international webinar, Emerging Technologies in Computer Application, which is organized by Department of Computer Application, Shift 2. So technology is best when it brings people together. Changes calls for innovation. Innovation leads to progress. Well, changes are happening from the times of early man, and only way one can survive is to continuously transform oneself or the things and situations that prevails around. Now I call upon Dr. Charles Orakiraj, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Application, to lead us in prayer.
Good evening to all. Dear Father, we thank you for everyone gathered here now. Thank you that you know each of us by name and have caused us to walk with you. We say that we are dependent on you and our trust is in you completely. As we surrender ourselves in adoration, we ask that you would come by your Holy Spirit and inspire our hearts today. Come, fill our lives with your love. Fill our conversations with your grace and truth. Fill this meeting with your presence. We ask this for your glory and praise. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles sir, for your prayer. Imagination is most important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, gives birth to evaluation, as scientist Albert Einstein said. Now, I call upon Dr. Pandian to, to give the welcome address and introduce the chief guest.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all. With a great pleasure and joy, I welcome to all for today's international webinar on emerging technology in computer application. I welcome today a resource person, Mr. Siva Thirumalvisai, founder and CEO of Nesotech USA. I'm going to introduce our resource person with a small introduction. Siva Thirumalvisai is currently the founder and CEO of Nesotech, an innovative technology business solutions company. Digital strategy consultant and trainer for executives in emerging technologies. Mr. Siva has over 25 years of experience in managing, creating, and deploying solutions for enterprise, federal, and consumer market, including remote locations. He is a mentor for startups in US and India. Mr. Shiva was a founding member of two startups, Paper Software Inc. and Network 24. With successful exits, Apple, other organizations, and news media have featured his apps. Shiva is an ardent leader and strong practicing evangelist of open source software. He is a coach and mentor for many technical professionals and entrepreneurs in US, India, and other countries. Mr. Shiva was a co-founder and organizer for Google Developer Group in DC area. He worked with many local organizations in organizing meetings on entrepreneurial and technology topics, benefiting DC area technology, business professionals, and entrepreneurs. Mr. Shiva also runs multiple meetup groups on emerging technologies. Nasotech has pioneering in creating, architecting, deploying a large number of software applications for legacy, internet, mobile, cloud, big data, IoT, AI, blockchain, SCT, 5G, voice platform, AR, VR, and human-centered AI. Nasotech has developed a unique AI and mobile platform for fast development and deployment. Shiva is a TITC board member, member of CTO group in DC, mentor and partnership director for Startup Ignite, lifetime member of Computer Society of India, and so on. So with a great pleasure and honor, I welcome you, sir, and I hand over the session to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pandyan. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for attending, and also thanks for the invitation. Let me share my screen, actually. And by the way, good evening all. So is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So that's, I'm very, very happy and honored to be part of this whole discussion, actually. So I was just telling them that, I could talk or I could even be a discussion. So anytime you want to stop and ask questions, feel free. So I normally take the approach of technology slightly different than many people, actually. So one of the ways you could look at it is like our life, depends on these 5 basic elements in general, like our physical life: earth, water, fire, air, and space. These are all our dependency on the basic elements. But if you really map this into digital life, what is that? This is it. You are more and more the emerging areas. You are going to depend on IoT, augmented reality, AI, connectivity, and blockchain. So these are the fundamental things which really going to drive the digital life going forward. It started, of course, like 10, 20 years ago, but it's keep moving, keep evolving, actually. These 5 elements may change a little bit here and there, but it still need to have these elements. And they slowly merging in a way that they are all interactive, actually. One depends on the other. And that's how this whole world is moving towards. The quantum computing, it's still in this infancy stage, but it's the name itself has quantum computing. It's much, much faster growth and adoption is happening, actually. So it's pretty powerful if you want to get onto it. And especially all the young students, you have in your lifetime, you're going to see a heavy use of quantum computing, actually. So it's worth for you to really look into that. And then the cloud. Cloud is like the basic stuff. Without cloud, today's world, nothing runs, actually. Almost your whole world relies on cloud. So the emerging technologies explodes it's almost as earlier, if you look at it like 1975 or 1970, the technology changes were taking longer time for adoption. But today's world, that's not happening. It's much, much faster. So the big data came, big data left. AI came, AI almost, every high school student is using AI technology for building applications. So these changes are going to keep happening. And one of the key areas is in the, 20, 25 years, mainframe was critical, actually. punch card was critical. So I studied in Madras University in the Marina campus, and next to our lab was the whole mark sheet processing computer center, and that whole computer was run through punch cards. This was in 80, 88 time frame, 88, 91. But today, that monolithic applications are gone. It's all microservices. Everything is, every technology built now is all based on microservices. So the container and the microservices centric, especially Kubernetes has become like a water for software. So, without Kubernetes, many applications in the next 5 to 10 years, it will not work. API economy and everything, whatever as a company, as an individual, you work for a company and you build technology, you want to think of API actually. So how do you expose your services as API? That's more and more adoption is happening. And then Amazon kind of started this health lake. Even before that, Google was there. They were doing some level on that, and a lot of other companies. Normally, what we do is we kind of put the data into a data lake and then try to distribute and people using it and all that stuff. But now the specialty, if you really look at the health lake, today in the entire world talks about only one topic, which is corona. And they talk about how the impact is and so on. So health is critical, and health connects everybody in the world actually. Either whether it is a human being or like animal, all of them are connected for health actually. So it's a critical area. So there is a lot of emerging technologies are happening there. And then multi-cloud. So no more one cloud mechanism. So even as a simplest level, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, there's a lot of stuff. And the next area, the emerging technologies where the more and more new technologies are getting driven is due to data explosion. Like every small activity, what you do digitally, whether you pick up a phone and talk or you go to internet, you are actually generating thousands and thousands of data. So think about it. Those data are used by different organizations, different mechanisms. So the data explosion is there. So the technology which is coming now is majorly to manage those data explosion. And then the service mesh, it is another very critical one actually. The Istio is one of the open source one. Like that, there are like MuleSoft, Kong, all of them have their own technologies. The service mesh is such an amazing area where your scalability equivalent to whatever you could do in mainframe actually. That level of mechanisms are there. So I always put this picture. This is again, all these photos and majority of the images are all from internet actually. So the important thing here is people really focus on knowledge actually. They try to learn as much as learn. But the learning alone is very, very simplistic component. It is the experience. Experience doesn't mean you need to have 30 years experience or 20 years experience. It could be 1 year experience. You need to give it a try. You need to be involved in it. You need to do stuff actually. That's the only way you will be able to contribute and be there. The creativity from the same content, the creativity comes in only when you get involved in it. You need to be part of that actually. So whatever you are doing, either you are working on a cloud, IoT, mobile, anything you are doing, you need to be part of that. That creativity comes out only when you are really, really get involved in it. So, and then see these, I'm going to go through each of these components and then talk about how they are expanding and making it bigger. So IoT is such an amazing technology actually. So one simple example is I've seen in the news, in the Indian news, a lot of challenges on like, hey, there is a vaccine available here, vaccine not available here. Oh, you have to go there, you have to do this. IoT is an amazing example, actually, where IoT kind of manages. You can even make it in a way that the sensors are available for all kinds of stuff. So that's one of the reasons where this data collection can happen for anything, even the flood warning, wind, all kinds of stuff. The collections are happening, and the collection can happen in various forms, and the data is all like kind of got into one location, and then they process that. And there are applications like intelligence, like the machine intelligence can be applied into the data, because these are all the data human already consumed it one way or other. So if you combine that, you can present it in a way that people can consume. So think about it in Indian scenario or in anywhere in the world, it is really critical for people to consume. And digital world, one of the biggest challenge in the digital world is, of course, Corona helped us to change that. But earlier, digital world was only an educated person can consume the digital content, nobody else. But today, that's not true. With the voice, if you do Alexa, we do Siri, lot of them. So it's a complete change, actually, the way the digital world is consuming. So IoT plays a major role in this. And if you, since what I heard from Dr. Pandian and others, you are all in the college, like in the second year and whatever the first year of the bachelor's, you have a long way to go. You have a great opportunity to get into the first stage of this and be involved and get to know so much in this area. And one of the other things that are happening is earlier IoT was more like a, hey, I'm just trying it out, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But now it's changing. IoT, the industrial revolution is like making it more and more valuable. So we worked with many industries where they were, so these are all factories, huge factories and so on. They wanted to know when their missions will fail and how do proactively service. Let's say if a motor engine can only withstand for like say 5 years or 4 years, the IoT devices measures their value, and then it calculates a mechanism to tell the service person, hey, this motor is close to the end of its life. So you need to plan for replacing it or servicing it, or this component is not serviced. So it's a very different change in the whole world of IoT. So look at this. Again, all of us are living in an amazing time, actually. This whole 2015 to next to 20, 25 years, technology is like unbelievably growing. So look at IoT is used everywhere. Automobiles, medical sciences, home security, mobile devices, manufacturing, GPS, everywhere. Meaning you are like wherever you go, you will get support. There are privacy issues. I'm not even denying it. There are privacy issues, but you can always control it. I mean, it's up to you. Earlier, like say 20 years back, you didn't have a control. Whatever was given to you is given to you. But today, privacy is up to you. And you can control how much you want to provide them, how much you don't want to provide them. It's up to you. This is one thing which I really like, actually, the smart cities. The whole world is turning slowly into smart cities. I'm not saying everybody in the world is going to adapt to this, but there are cities which, I don't know if anybody traveled to Toronto. When I was in Toronto for a year, I was amazed by that city, actually. So it's literally there was a city in the top and then city in the bottom, below the ground level. There was a complete city. You can do, without even seeing sunlight, you can live your life, actually, pretty much. So the Toronto as an area. So similarly in the DC, they are trying to build it, and other cities within India also. There were 100 cities they are planning for smart cities, actually. where a lot of things are connected. You will be able to live a different style of life. Actually. Not everybody can fit into this or interested in this, but the technology to build it is an opportunity for uh, young people like who has a great opportunity to change the world. And IoT is one area where you can focus on. So then I'm kind of shifting the gear to the next major component. If you look at this is pretty amazing. Not even that. Say when I came here early 90s, actually, very early 90s. When I came here, even to travel from one small place to another place, I used to have a paper map, and then I had to like stop somewhere, make a map route, find it, and go. Today, think about it. There is nothing. It's not even this kind of stuff. Look at on the right hand side, converged view, where you have your windshield, but that windshield as a direction, as everything. So completely augmented reality. So your real world is still there. That's not going to go away. But on top of it, you can actually consume. It's almost these technologies were only available for pilots and like all this Air Force people and space explorations. But it's all changing. Today's world, you buy a car, it's pretty much auto drives it. I'm sure you guys played with Tesla kind of technologies. Tesla is like completely automated. There are versions which completely automated. It can drive on its own. Obviously, there will be some challenges. There are some issues here and there, and all that stuff will be there. But this augmented reality makes it such an interesting world for you. So think about learning. I'm sure in the Corona time where there were a lot of videos are shared in WhatsApp, if you look at many of these videos, the augmented reality has become so powerful actually. So even in the health science, the technology in the health science is amazingly working. So one of the areas is the early on augmented reality where by multiple companies. One is the Google Glass, other one is the HoloLens. So the Google Glass is more like you could kind of do an augmented reality. HoloLens went one step further. They call it as mixed reality. So you wear it. This one on the left-hand side, the Google Glass, what the key thing about the Google Glass is your vision is never impact. You can watch whatever you watch, but there is a separate small screen here. But since it's closer, proximity is closer to the eye, the screen will look really big. It's like a 70 mm movie kind of screen. But at the same time, you can see what you want to see on the natural light. And you can do. The mixed reality is it kind of combines everything and it's in one screen. And the mixed reality works in different areas actually, and it's likely also the cost wise is there, but all this cost will change in the coming years actually. More and more technology comes out, this cost will come down. The key thing you need to think about it is we did like in 2013 or so, we were I was in Chennai, our company and another hospital, leading hospital in Chennai, the doctor did a surgery. So the surgery, we call it as remote surgery, but in reality, it was a surgery done by the doctor. But the other physicians and like the junior physicians and media people and other research scientists, all of them were able to watch the surgery live actually. And they were asking questions to the doctor, and then the doctor was answering. So we hosted the entire process. We were the first in the country to do it actually, third in the world to do that. So what I'm saying is the growth is happening more and more and more. So the augmented reality is another world we can look at. AI, I'm sure all of you heard of AI, and like, I'm sure you're using or writing code also. What I like is like there are some very interesting opportunity in the AI. What we are doing today is just we are scratching the surface. It's like really simple stuff we are doing. Like in kind of education world, we are in the baby class, ABCD, that kind of stuff actually. where we are going to go, because the convergence is very important. The convergence is you, the hardware, the software, the algorithm, the data, the feedback loop, all that is are important. So when that happens, think about the AI, what it can provide. And don't think AI as a fancy technology. Think of AI as a technology which will enable like everybody, physically challenged people, older generation, everybody gets old. No, see, when you are old, for some reason you become blind. When you are like 85 and you are blind, yeah, I could help you, heavily help you to take care of yourself. To do, meaning a lot of people want to live independent on their own, but how do you do that? So that's where these technologies make a huge impact actually. So it's very critical for you to learn, understand where it is. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. How do you learn that? So the key thing about is keep an open mind. It's no more where you need a high-end machine at home. That's not needed. You could just have a browser and be able to develop some amazing technologies actually, which is impossible. Just to give you a reference, when I was building many of these technologies, our first 3D browser technology, we sold our first company to Netscape in '96. Before that, we were building this 3D browser. Even one small mistake, if I forget a bracket or a comma, by the time I come to know of it, it's 4 hours. Literally, I'm not even lying. I had one of the high-end machine, which is like 100 megahertz machine. My code will compile, and 4 hours later, will throw an error saying, "Oh, you have a syntax error." Think about it. I have to fix the code. Again, wait for 4 hours. It's very crazy. Those days are pre-library, pre-dynamic library stages. But those are all like now. I have a M1 alpha M1 machine, Apple machine. I can compile in like a couple of seconds. Many of the code, much larger code than what he used to do. So learning is changed. You don't need to have invest in hardware. You can always take a time slice and do it. So the data science life cycle actually. So it's pretty interesting. This is one diagram which I really liked it because it they simplified the whole thing actually. So do a business understanding, do a model, data acquisition, and then deployment, and then get a customer feedback accept like how you may have what you want. It may work. Go back and business understanding. Oh, okay. I was thinking this is what he wanted. Looking for. So you go back and do it. So customer four stages are fixed right now, at least for now. But it is changing. What we do with that is changing extensively every. So another area which I think, how do you think, empathize, define, ideate, test? If it is a machine learned, so that's why I call it as human-centered AI. There is a professor from Carnegie University. He talks heavily about HCAI, that is human-centered AI. Building an AI in isolation has zero value because not zero value, but you're building something to satisfy you as a technology. But think of the other way. If you build which helps humans in the sense whatever other dependents also, value, great impact. That's very critical. So this is all you put in data from data sources, apps, sensors, and then create intelligence and provide action of for other people. So what I meant is in the vaccine scenario, if you can somehow get those vaccines so on, you can build intelligence to provide people access to the vaccine. Shortest to that, they don't need to travel like 100 miles to get a vaccine. They could travel like 3 miles to get a vaccine. As I said, you need to have a high-end technology systems and machines and so on. All this can be run in the cloud. And especially if you look at Jupyter, it's pretty much runs on a browser. And the backend can be fully run through these kinds of clusters. You have all the stuff like the data, model creation to online processing, streaming, everything can be done. And the best part of the world like is open source, meaning you have for majority of the technologies you can pretty much use it for free, except for the compute and storage. Probably you need to do that. So algorithms, I mean, if you look at these algorithms, there are so many algorithms already built. This is a one snapshot. I'm saying there are many algorithms of keeping the. So I've always seen people. So when we was talking to Dr. Pandyan, I told him that we were discussing on the topic, and then I said in emerging technologies in computer applications. The reason I said that is there is two schools. One is you want to do fundamental research. There are in India, ISRO, and you have a TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. There are so many, even IIT, all these organizations have fundamental research where you can write algorithms. So even today, the image recognition research is happening heavily, actually. That is one area. The other area is building applications. What is research which is happening in the Media Labs? The MIT Media Labs is another biggest contributor. And Carnegie is the biggest technology. So you have to take a path whether to build it on the fundamental science or build it on the application. The applications building itself is like amazing opportunity for you to. So this is another diagram I saw was pretty powerful actually. If you really look at it, how an autonomous car works. There are very Google car actually, but similar there is many new cars. Tesla or many of these technologies are today are available in many new cars. Like we were looking at Toyota, Honda mid-range cars. Even those have a lot of technologies, like lane detection and so on. So I just photo mainly because it's more like an inspiration for all of you. Actually, think about it. This has just happened like a couple of days ago. 157 million. Just for transcription. So there's a company which is doing transcription, AI-based transcription could be various things, whatever they are transcribing. 170 million getting invested. So this AI technology, the investment is going to grow and grow and grow. So it's worth it for you to take a look at it. Another important thing which I talk heavily about is Edge AI. Edge AI is, there is no cloud, nothing. You don't even have a time. So think about this way. A farmer in southern India or anywhere, remote location, and he's whatever, actually, there is no cell connection, nothing. Meaning, see, there are farms even in US, I've seen that Utah and so on. The number of acres they have is like 100,000 or 2,000 acres. So in the 2,000 square acres, there is no cell phone, there is no cell tower. So when something goes wrong and you want, how do you get help right there without somebody helping you? Now, with again, in 10 years, it's going to change. Obviously, there are a lot of things are changing. where Elon Musk company, is SpaceX is building a 1,200 or so satellites around the world to help net connection anywhere. But even with that, this edge AI will help you make a decision or assist you in making a decision wherever you are, at the edge, without the cloud. So, where it is used in many, many, many places, like a Nest kind of cameras, like CCTV kind of cameras. So today, what is happening? If something goes wrong, this or they could detect even before. And that's a very good example, actually, of a simple device which you need a car, all kinds of 5G. Talking about 5G is one set. The key thing is 1 gigabyte. Think about it. There is no waiting time. There is no wait time to get into augmented reality needs content, actually. Augmented reality needs so many things to all the AI. AI needs bandwidth. So that's why 5G is very critical, at least for the perceivable time. But that's going to change. You are going to have a satellite phone for everybody. Then you will have a terabyte of transaction, very easy. So that's one of the areas. So 5G is another area where there is a lot of research is going on, a lot of applications are getting built on top of 5G. So the next one is the blockchain. See, today, database is not new. Database has been there for 30, 35 years, actually. People have used it. I remember we built our own database, like using B-tree technology. We use our own database. So today, blockchain. Blockchain is such a powerful distributed digital ledger. And you probably heard of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first version of multiple industries are created. Ethereum is one of them. Hyperledger is one of them. Quora is another one. There are hold on. These are all like technologies which are built on values of them and is trustworthy. So here is the final thought. So one particular let's say you have a blog, you add a new content, so it doesn't allow you to modify that content unless you are the validated correct person. So somebody has to open mic. Can you mute please?
Participants, please mute yourselves.
So that's the blockchain. Um, so this is just a summary of, there is a lot of things are happening here also. Blockchain is another area. We build the technologies on how it kind of gives you this. So these questions are very important. And then career-wise, today, if you use your database, you're going to use blockchain in another couple of years. Everybody is going to use it. And supply chain management. And there are some industrial value into this. See, there are some people who best example, COVID vaccine. See, COVID vaccine as a lifetime, self-time, like any food, any food as an expert who are maintained and then delivered to me. Is this the original vaccine? Is it the chain helps you to do that? supply chain management is one of the major barriers. So there are people who monitor where the pork comes from, where the beef comes from, which factory. In US, multiple times there was challenge on the internet. So when you select some maybe there are other people actually. So I'll go through that. So multiple parties share data, update data, all that stuff actually. It's pretty powerful blockchain. And this is the healthcare. Think about it. Healthcare. These are all very big companies. Multiplan, United Healthcare, Optum, Quest, Humana, all are independent companies. They're very big on their own. A patient, how do they know the patient is? Unless the patient is a CD and keep it at home and go back to that, and it's just nice. So this blockchain provides them a lot of that information. So that the Synaptic Health Alliance is one of the areas where they are using blockchain to create that node. So each one is a node, and you update, and everybody gets it. You cannot just blindly update. You have to be a member of it, and you need to have a valid mechanism to update it. So there are in the health benefit for payers, providers, patients, and for the industry. The blockchain helps them quite a bit on that. So the adoption of blockchain is at a very, very early stage, and not many industries are doing it. So, but it will come there, and people are going to get into that. So there are some comparisons between databases and blockchain, and especially verifiable transaction, currentness, smart contracts, and decentralized. That is one of the key areas actually. Databases are all centralized. You go to one location to get the data, whereas decentralized, you get anywhere where the edge where you are, and you will still be able to get the data. So the quantum computing, I'm not going to go into details, but the key value of quantum computing is it's a great opportunity. Nobody is there. Meaning, if anybody says I'm doing quantum computing, probably they're scratching the surface. Not even scratching the surface, they are just getting to know. So you are in the first street of this whole opportunity. So you should try it actually. Now, Amazon and many other like Google as well as Azure, all of these guys have opened up in a way that you could at least to try a slice of that. So there are courses in Udemy, edX, and other areas where you can learn stuff and try it out. Very simple, not complicated ones, but at least the simple things you can try it out. Cloud, actually, this is very critical. If you don't know cloud, I had a discussion with one of the top executives in Cisco last week. And one of the key things he talked about is I don't hire engineers if they are not cloud native. So what they call it as cloud native. Cloud native meaning you need to know how Jenkins is going to work, how pipeline is going to work, what is the Kubernetes, and how would I use that. Just writing a Java code, or just writing a VB code or C program, it's good. Node.js is good, but that's not going to be helpful. See, earlier, there will be an ops team, there will be like a support team, IT. All these guys will try to help the ops team, but that will help you, but they still expect you to do it. Meaning in your development environment, in your testing environment, they want you to use the cloud and build applications there. After that, when it goes to production, the DevSecOps will take it. Until then, you need to do it. So the cloud is very, very critical for anyone. So the digital their e-commerce in digital and for you can do notification, you can do visualization, you can do dashboarding. all that stuff is very, very, the digital things are very, very, very important actually. So if you want to be employed easily, and not just employed like today, tomorrow, next week, or next year, to be continuously employed. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people get laid off, not the 20-year, 30-year people, the first year, second year of employment, people get laid off, mainly because they are not adapting to the changing world. So it's very, very critical. You need to adapt to the changing world. So the advantages of cloud, one is speed. You can deploy it. If it doesn't work, hey, one CPU doesn't work, make it two CPU. Or you need storage from 4 terabyte or 1 terabyte to 2 terabyte or 100 gig to 200 gig. Cloud makes it so easy. Provisioning is very easy. So you should really look at cloud and adopt cloud. Elasticity, as I said, ramp up, ramp down. Like Diwali time, you're going to have 1 lakh customers. Increase the cloud storage and cloud processing, everything. After Diwali till Pongal, or maybe after Pongal, after Pongal till New Year, you're not going to have that many customers. I mean, there will be customers that will come down to 50%. To reduce your number of servers, reduce your number of storage, so that you don't miss all those kinds of cloud. Think about all that physically. It will take a lot of effort, lot of resources need. So now I'm going to switch my hat a little bit on the developer trends and where things are going. See, the multi-platform architecture is very important. You learn that. Cloud, SaaS, thin terminal, data privacy, chatbots. See, all these you need to know before you step foot in the job. They expect it. And learning this is not that hard. Not like so you could learn very easily. The learning sources are available. See, the higher education, the next generation of higher education is completely changing. The way it is changing is it's not one guy needs to know end to end, mainframe, everything. You could pick and choose. Okay, I want to learn this, I want to learn that. And stackable. So you could say this, this. Just to the tab or your phone. And customizable. How the great opportunity. See, for us it was not there, at least for me and many of my generation people. It was difficult actually. We didn't have that kind of mechanism. And everything I was learning, I have 2,000, 3,000 books. That is the only way to learn those ways. Then when I'm part of Netscape actually. So when the web started, everything changed. Today, in your phone, all kinds of stuff. Khan Academy. You can sit in a beach and learn. Nothing stops you. So the governance actually, there are available architecture, microservices, outer architecture, infrastructure as code, software-defined network, software-defined compute, remote process automation, all these governance techniques. You will be able to get this photo from a Department of Defense, technology. How they build a product. Just to building one product, they go through all these steps, right from plan and develop, build, test, secure, store artifacts, deploy and monitor and scale. This is the new way of developing. And there is, you can see the left side is more development time, right hand side is in the deployment time. Majority of the people, meaning right now, a lot of youngsters, what they think is, oh, I'll learn how to do Java. But where is Java here? If you really look at it, there is no Java technology. There is no Node.js technology. There is no Python technology. Because all that is is within this one box. But there are so many stages you need to go through. And people who have a lot more understanding and learning about other stages, who would get the job? Not just getting the fresher job, then get promoted, then get to the next level. This is very important for you to open up your mind and learn. And 90% of this is open source. So it's free. You could, so if you look at it, other mechanisms. So this is the structure. This entire system. This is using Node.js as a base with a serverless architecture on AWS. So with that, once you can create them. So as I said, I'm just recollecting. You need to understand the existing world to create the future. No more one language or one technology. Oh, I know Java, I know Node.js, I know Python. It's not going to cut it. Quick adoption. Change your mind to get into quick adoption. Continuous learning. See, I learn even today. I started coding when I was 14. Almost 35 years, 37 years I'm coding. Even today I code. I enjoy it actually, but not everybody is going to enjoy it. But it's very, very critical for you to do a continuous learning. Open source is part of life. It's not something, oh, I'm going to learn open source next week or next month or next year. No, it's now. It should be part of your, whatever you're doing, it should be there, part of open source. Security is mandatory. Now you need to know how to write secure code, how to build secure systems. The model-based approach, that's very important. Systems of system approach, model-based approach is also there. So these are all the changing roles. And there are opportunities in all this area, cloud migration, edge cloud, edge computing, DevSecOps. These are all the various areas the opportunities are available for you. And AI, like as I said, blockchain, healthcare, there are so many. Blockchain is there, AI is there, AI, IoT. All these are combined to amazing opportunities. Another area which a lot of people ignore, I wanted you to think about is the UI UX. So this is UI, somebody designing a UI. That was what was there. UX, usability is very critical. So look at this. This is the user experience. This is the user interface. There's like a lot of very interesting things you need to learn about. And think about it, how people use it. So when you are designing application, you need to think of that actually and how they do it. A lot of people do that credit management. And some people do other things that using two times. So this is a technology. I'm not going to. I didn't realize the time. We built the technology using this mechanism, like what I explained before. That's exactly what we use. Kavika is our technology. We build it to do mentorship plans actually. And so the key thing. This is what I wanted to mainly insist on. These are all the data available for free. Not only source code. Source code is one thing which is available, open source. Data is available everywhere. Everything has a lot of data. Utilize that. Utilize that data to build your technologies. Try it out. So when somebody tries out and goes to the job, you get a better opportunity. And there are many references. I can give you so many references actually. So, and as I mentioned, SaaS-based tools for engineering. You need to have a high-end CPU with a machine. You could do it all through the browser actually. And open source resources for engineers. You could learn, do stuff All these are available. 99.9% is free. You could just use that. So I'll stop here. Hope it was useful for you guys. Do anybody have questions?
Thank you, sir. From invaluable informations on knowledge, experience, including like IoT, AI, Edge AI, augmented reality, 5G connectivity, blockchain, quantum computing, and cloud computing. You have captured our complete attention during the entire session, sir. Grateful to you, sir, for this wonderful presentation. So now, dear participants, if you have any queries, any questions now, please post it in the chat box. Or else you can unmute and ask to sir.
So I have one question, sir.
Oh, sure.
Sir, you talk about all the technologies, like emerging technologies in the computer applications. Really very interesting, sir. So actually, I did my PhD in Madras University and under the guidance of Dr. P. Thangavil, sir. Actually, in India, many of the students are doing research in computer science. Many of them means very few students are doing research in the computer science, but we are not fully learn and use the latest technologies. There is a gap between research, the application-oriented research, and academic-oriented research. How we can fill this gap? I think you understand my question, sir.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, so
Yeah,
there's two ways to think. Thank you for the question. I may I know your name, please?
sir, I'm Pandian, then, sir. Yes, I'm Pandian.
Thank you. Okay. So see, the key thing is as I said, the purpose is different. So if you look at MIT Media Lab, they do research or fundamental research, very different than what applications people build on top of it. See, I was very fortunate enough in '96 when we sold the company to Netscale. I worked with some of these amazing MIT Media Lab students. I still have really good connection with them. The key thing is they build technologies which are not readily usable today, but usable like 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Because they are not focused on the application, they are focused on the fundamental change. So one of the examples is like what we call it as JSON today, JSON data formats, and particularly XML also, some level XML. All this stuff was built when it originally started called the Metadata Content Framework, MCF. Then they changed quite a bit actually. So that kind of research, the gratification on those research is not on the application immediately. But what would help, you said it absolutely correct. Where it would help is if when they do fundamental research, if there is a way association to the human-centered fundamental research. So when you do it, you need to look at how people are going to use it. It will be great. But the pain is when you are doing fundamental research, academic research, it's very difficult to see the user because it's not today's user. No, you are looking at 10 years, 20 years away users. So we did a 3D browser. One example actually. We did a 3D browser in 94, 95 timeframe. And the 3D browser were only like maximum was 100 megahertz Pentium machines. And you cannot see a absolute 3D technology. We even call it as 2.5D technology. But today, that's like a absolutely easy to navigate 3D technology today. And with augmented reality, it's even more powerful. So that's how you have to look at it, actually. No? So, but having said that, it's always a good idea to have a relationship. Academic research should have a relationship with the industry things. So one example is as I mentioned in the previous introduction, I'm part of Thai DC executive board here, the board of directors. Thai Chennai is also there, and Thai Chennai also hosts a lot of events, and there are many industrial heads are part of that. So when you are doing research, having an association with them makes a big difference. And another example is like me, participating like events, kind of gives us an opportunity to interact and see what the research is happening and where the world is going in terms of the applications and so on. I don't know, hopefully it answered your question.
So thank you, sir. And one of the professor asked, what are all the features in cloud security?
Oh, so I'm sure you guys heard about ransomware, so there is a pipeline, oil pipeline goes through East Coast, through my area also, and it was attacked by ransomware group actually. They attacked and then completely down for more than a month. See, earlier when a security attack happens, you lose your mission. One person loses there, and I've seen WhatsApp hacks actually. One of our neighbors also was hacked, but that's only a small portion. But when you look at hospitals, a large hospital in LA was attacked. That's because of like a weaker security. If you put into cloud means it doesn't that it's completely secure. So you need to do the right things there. And there are very materials and technologies which are available, which people could really utilize that actually for cloud-based applications, okay, security side. There are many things that are happening, and SANS is one of the groups, and there is a White Hat group is also there, and they are all like provide materials, and then see, think about this way: when a technology changes, the security vulnerability happens, and you need to learn continuously to see how that technology change would help. See, AI is a challenge because the more and more AI learns about you, lot of the fundamental services it provides will be. There was a discussion on the AI. It's also related to security. It will start treating people of color in a very different way than people of native origin. The reason is it's very tricky actually because you are feeding the data to it in a way that data AI only understands that. It doesn't know the other component of it. So because of that, it starts treating people differently. So it's very critical for the security, cloud security is very important actually. It's a fundamental for now and going forward.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Uh, yes, sir. Once again, we thank you for your clarity and answering, sir. Uh, Dear participants, do we have any questions to ask? If so, kindly post your queries in the chat box.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
talking about the AI, sir. So how the beneficial of AI in healthcare technology, sir? Can you explain?
Oh, yeah, augmented reality. You mean.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, healthcare. Think about it. It is amazing actually how much the AI can help in healthcare. So one example is um, even a very simple example. Actually, somebody get hurts uh, physically hurt. And then when they, let's assume that they got hurt and then they go to hospital, and then there are some times you need to take some extreme measures to fix the problem. Explaining that to the patient, it's very difficult. Hey, this is what is going to happen, or you're going to lose your leg, or your air is going to fall. All these challenges, explaining to them verbally is very, very difficult. Whereas with the AI, you can actually, sorry, AR, you can show that in a way using their own uh, body, actually. So let's say you have a finger which had some problem, and then they're fixing it. Doctor is fixing it, making it better. Then they can showcase actually how with the current finger, and then they project on top of it the AR and showcase how it is. Even some people have this facial scars actually, like the blackened faces, spots will be there. So when you do the skin treatment, what happens? How it is done? So you can showcase all that stuff in real time, and that's one of the areas augmented reality is working. And also the physical fitness, actually, they can show that also. So there is many and not only that, see, the external medication is one area. The other one is internal medication. So, let's say your liver is impacted, and where you are, the current liver is, and then how it will increase, or you can make it better in the future. And your art, like a lot of people have this challenges of art blocks, actually, in the veins. How do you overcome that? What happens? How that works for a particular person? And that is all happening because we do CT scan, we do other scans, and then they can take the content of a regular human based on the person, and then they connect all that stuff and showcase that as a augmented reality, so that the not only the patient, their whoever is the caregivers, they can also understand what is going on there.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
sir, for
sir.
the clarification.
Mm.
Yes, yes, I now invite Mrs. Pushpalata, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Computer Application, Shift 2, to render the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, all. As all good things come to an end in life, so is the webinar. On behalf of Department of Computer Application Shift to Patrician College of Arts and Science, I take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar on emerging technologies and the computer applications organized by our institution. At the outset, I thank our chief guest and resource person, Mr. Siva Tirmanasai. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Thank you, sir.
Thank
We are
you all.
thankful
Thank
to
you.
our director and secretary.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Our director and secretary, brother Dr. S. Rikviraj, and our academic director, Dr. Fatma Hasan, for their motivation. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Usha Judge, for their enthusiastic guidance. I also extend my thanks to our vice principals, Dr. Geeta Rupal, Shift 2, and Dr. Meena, Shift 1, for the constant support. A special thanks to Dr. Pandian, who organized this webinar. Thank you, sir. And also thanks to our Professor Mr. Sabapati and Dr. Charles, sir, for unflinching support and coordination. And also wish to thank Mr. Ruben for his technical support. Our heartfelt thanks to all the participants for their active participation. With these warm words and a kind message, we move to end of today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our task as educator to help the students to communicate with the world using these technologies, which makes the things easier and overcome many obstacles that we face. I hope this session would be very enjoyable, and we got to know many things with the clarity of the augmented reality and everything. So thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate all of you. And feel free to connect with me in LinkedIn, wherever. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Ma'am,
Sir.
thank you.
Ma'am.
Ma'am, recording.